Good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 10 a.m. on May 13th, 2026. I'm going to ask that everybody please mute your phones, keep them on mute unless you are speaking during the meeting, and please keep your cameras on at all times so we can make sure that we have a quorum. I'm going to ask Ms. Lopez Sparks to go ahead and roll call for us.
Yes, sir. Dr. Anish Potty, Harry Hatley,
Present.
Eric Garcia, Blaine Sabile, Maurice Termite Watkins, Dr. Abhi Davlapur,
Present.
Dr. Davlapur, can you please turn on your camera for me?
I believe
Felix
it's on.
Ramirez,
Present.
Dr. Parkas,
Present.
and I said, Dr. Potty, I see you hopped on. Thank you. And presiding officer, Dr. Lewis Chapa.
All right. Again, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Lopez Sparks. Before we get started, I would like to introduce our newest board member, Mr. Felix Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, would you please unmute your phone and please give us a little background on you, give us some few words on you.
Hi, my name is Felix Ramirez. I'm the promoter for Theater Promotions. My start with boxing was as a kid, fighting as an amateur. I had several amateur bouts. And eventually one day, someone came up to me and says, "Hey, can you coach me?" I was about 19, 20 years old at the time. And I said, "Sure, I'll go ahead and do that." And I started coaching. And I guess I had a little knack for coaching, which turned into developing fighters throughout the time. Through coaching them, taking them through different tournaments, nationals, all the above, even worldwide, and Belarus for international competition. From there, several fighters started becoming pro, so I started working with other promoters throughout the United States. The majority of them in Texas, and I started placing fighters on different promotions and different platforms. Uh, One of the things I noticed though was that I was always on another promoter's time. So whenever they had an event or a show, I had to wait for them or whatever the case may be. And so I had to coincide with whatever their schedule was. So I said, "Hey, why don't we go ahead and just do it ourselves?" And so that's when we launched Tigray Promotions in 2007 after working for over 20 years with 2017, excuse me, after working with for over 20 years with other promoters. We finally decided to pull the trigger and do it ourselves, and here we are today. So we're real proud of what we've done here. We're real proud that we're from Texas, and we're doing our best to advocate uh, fighters first and foremost, the safety of the fighters, and ensure that they get the platform that they need to succeed in boxing, and more importantly, when they're done with boxing, have a backup plan, not just ending there. We get a lot of sad endings in boxing, and we try to avoid those and do the best we can. And it's just not that. I mean, we have a lot of our fighters that we place in jobs or do whatever we can do outside of boxing, and so we do our best to help. Like I tell everybody, I've got other businesses. This is my charity. There's not a lot of money to be made here, but we do it for the love of the sport first and foremost.
Okay, well, wonderful. Again, great to meet you. We're happy to have you on the board with us. So welcome. Moving on to item C, the general counsel training. Mr. Robert Reyes is our assistant general counsel. He'll take over this part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chapa. Good morning, everybody. Robert Reyes, assistant general counsel for licensing and regulatory services here in TDLR. I'm going to share my screen with you and get through this open government training with you. Give me a moment as I share my screen. All right. Here we go. Today is May 13th, 2026. This is our open government training. These are the three acts I will be covering in this presentation: the Open Meetings Act, Administrative Procedure Act, and Public Information Act. You can also find more detailed information regarding these acts in your meeting packet. The nuts and bolts of open meetings. The act requires meetings of governmental bodies that are open to the public with notice given of the time, place, and subject matter of the meeting. A quorum is a majority of a governmental body. This board has 9 members, therefore a quorum is 5. Deliberation is discussion, and that can happen obviously after we've properly noticed the meeting and the agenda. Meetings can occur at any time and any place, including online and in social media. I'll cover that more specifically here in a moment. The 4 characteristics of notice. If an item is not properly noticed in the agenda, no discussion of or action on that item may occur during the meeting. Members are free to engage in conversation that is incidental to event when you all are at different programs or conventions, things of that nature. However, you should not engage, even informally, in discussions concerning board business. That is very important. Key points to recall concerning meetings. We will now review the concept of walking quorum. Walking quorum occurs when fewer than a quorum of members, such as 2, 3, or 4, engage in discussion about official business, which is business before the board, and then communicate those discussions to other members that weren't originally part of the conversation. Subsequent communications with other members will result in that quorum being made, and obviously official business being conducted outside of a public meeting is something that is not supposed to happen. This is an example of a walking quorum. This example is in your meeting materials. Different ways walking quorums can occur: video conferences, hallway discussions, and more importantly, emails, text messages, and other new technologies, which we include, Facebook, things like that. Things can get really out of hand very quickly. So we definitely advise you not to start any discussions about business that is before the board in any sort of social media situation or in any sort of app like that. One last thing, everything sent to you by department staff by email, if received, should be kept private with no external discussion between members. Work group discussions should remain within the work group to avoid the walking quorum. Best practices to avoid a walking quorum. Again, point 2 is especially important in this day of direct messaging. Guidelines for open sessions. The main idea here is to limit discussions to what is identified on the agenda. Tips for avoiding violating the act on the basis of insufficient notice. Limit discussions. Avoid allowing discussions regarding specific agenda items to wander off course. Not to respond to or discuss issues that are raised during public comment, but which are not on the agenda. And finally, specifically identify items for future agendas and clearly communicate those to TDLR staff. There are consequences for violating the Open Meetings Act. Criminal penalties expose the violator to a fine and/or jail time. This is a summary of the main takeaways for the Open Meetings Act. These links are in your meeting packet. You can also email me personally or Angelica, who will forward the email to me with any questions you may have. Now moving on to the Administrative Procedure Act. The two stated purposes of the Administrative Procedure Act: what a rule is, and what a rule is not. A rule includes a new rule, an amendment to an existing rule, or repeal of an existing rule. Five sources for rulemaking. Y'all are number 2. An individual must fit into one of these 4 categories to be an interested person and submit a rule petition. So when taken into account, this is very broad. This is the typical process for rulemaking. You see 2 advisory board meetings in this process, step 4 and step 9. The first time is before we publish proposed rules in the Texas Register for comment by the public. The second time is before commission adoption. This process may vary slightly based on the circumstances of the rules package at the time it is going through the process. Every 4 years, we are required to review the rules for adoption or readoption. This is known as the rule review process. If there is a statutory requirement to have rules, we need to decide if the program rules are necessary. The rules continue to be necessary if the program exists or the legislature states that rules need to exist. In summary, as long as this program goes on, we will have rules. Additional resources. Again, any questions about the Administrative Procedure Act can be sent to me directly or forwarded to Angelica, who will then send it on to me. Lastly, the Public Information Act, the last act we will cover today. The second point is very important. Pursuant to the general presumption of granting requests for information, communications through your personal phone regarding advisory board business may expose all the content on your phone to disclosure. Therefore, it is a best practice to respond directly to emails and not forward them to anybody else or any other part of any sort of apps or communications that you may have. Requests for public information, they are submitted in writing, and they're submitted through the TDLR Record Center, which can be accessed on the TDLR website. To meet, we have a 10 business day turnaround, which is that prompt response. We cannot ask why someone wants records. We can only ask for clarifications. This is what we need from you as board members. To meet that quick 10-day turnaround, we need your immediate response to any questions that we may have of you. Again, the presumption of openness is important here. We begin the analysis with the idea that the information is available for disclosure. There are certain pieces of information that are redacted. You see them there below. If we have any questions, we reach out to the Office of the Attorney General for a ruling. For any request received by you, an advisory board member, if you have something written from anybody in the industry, a contestant, fellow promoter, anything of that nature, please forward it on to the advisory board team, so Angelica there, who will forward it to the Office of General Counsel and our open records team. As you recall, there's a 10 business day deadline, which applies to all requests. So anything that you offer us, please be ready to respond to any questions as time is of the essence. Public Information Act resources. These links, again, are found in your materials. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available to the board for any questions that you may have at this time.
Does anybody have any questions? No?
No, I don't
Oh.
have any.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Appreciate that information.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good seeing you, man.
Good seeing you, sir.
All right, let's move on to item D, approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, which occurred on May 1st, 2025. At this time, I'll ask if any of the board members have any comments about that meeting. And if not, I'll go ahead and motion for an approval of those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Carrie Hadley.
Motion for
And seconded by Dr. Potty. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Dr.
Let me
Potty.
do a quick roll call vote, Dr. Chapa, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Nish Potty? Dr. Potty, you're for the minutes.
Yes.
Carrie Hatley?
Yes. Time for the minutes. Yes. Yes, I approve.
Dr. Abi Davlapur?
Yes, I approve.
Felix Ramirez?
I approve.
Dr. David Parkes?
Approve.
And presiding officer, Dr. Louis Chapa.
I approve.
Motion passes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. On to a public comment. As far as I know, most recently, the Combative Sports Advisory Board did not receive any requests to give public comment unless that has changed very recently.
We did not receive any public comments. Dr.
Okay.
Chapa.
All righty, thank you. So moving on to staff reports. At this time, I will call on team leads from each of the divisions. We'll start off with the licensing division with Mr. Sam Torres.
Good morning, everyone. Board members and Chairman Chapa. I'm here to present the Sam Torres here from licensing to present the statistics for the licensing division. You see on here we do have fiscal years 24 and 25, and then quarters 1 and 2 for fiscal year 26. Nothing out of the ordinary here. I do want to add that you'll notice a new category there for the contestants, and that is we implemented an online system, I think back in last summer. So you'll see that's starting to gain some momentum there as far as contestants being able to apply online and also renew their licenses online. So we would just encourage, the contestants to go to our website and go ahead and do that. I think it does make it easier for them because they are more in control of getting their applications through and knowing exactly where they stand on what they need. But we're looking forward to that kind of just taking over and really helping them out. If you have any other questions, I can answer them for you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times the promoters, we pay for the licenses, and is that an option that we can do for them, or is it something they have to do on their own as far as payment is concerned, if we're going to do everything online?
That I believe the actual contestant will have to pay for those online, just because they're gonna have their own setup and everything like that. So usually, it gets taken care of, so they can just say that they have their license already, and then they're good to fight. I believe you can still turn in paper applications if you have to, but we're trying to encourage the online system for them to go to.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Torres? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Flores. Appreciate that.
Appreciate your time. My pleasure.
On to the customer service division, Ms. Claudia Enriquez.
Hi, good morning, advisory board members and TDLR staff. My name is Claudia Enriquez, and I am the customer service manager for this program. As you can see in our report, the total contacts received in our customer service department for March of 2026 were 61, which remained pretty consistent for FY 2026 and FY 2025, with October usually being higher, on averaging around 90 contacts. Other than those statistics, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Enriquez.
You're welcome.
Was there a question? No? Okay. Now on to the enforcement division, Ms. Rebecca Burkhalter.
Good morning, Combative Sports Advisory Board. I'm Rebecca Burkhalter, a senior prosecutor with the Texas Department of Licensing Regulation, and I have your Enforcement Division staff report for you today. At the very top, you have the division's performance measures, which are reported to the legislature. You may notice we've reorganized the materials so you can compare one fiscal year to another more clearly. These statistics are for each fiscal year starting with September 1 and continuing through March, so that we're comparing the same sized set of data. The next section is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. These cases are handled by our criminal history prosecutors, but you see your program does not have a lot of criminal history cases. The next section details where the enforcement division's complaints come from, whether they are from consumers or from within the agency. You may notice we have a higher amount of departmental complaints on this program. That includes complaints filed by our combative sports staff members who regularly work our events. It's clear when you look at the pie chart on the next page that the departmental complaints are more significant on this program compared to the agency's average. The next section details our caseloads within the enforcement division. You can see they have gone down in this portion of fiscal year 2026, and it looks like we're still closing more complaints than were opened. The next section is my favorite because it shows enforcement's work product. The orders issued are the end of the road for a disciplinary action, and you can see the number of agreed orders stayed the same between fiscal year 25 and 26, whereas the number of default orders decreased slightly. In the penalties and consumer remedies, you can see how many fines our division assessed and actually collected. The average penalty assessed has come down slightly, and we've done a good job of collecting nearly $5,000 in fines. However, when you have a higher number of default orders like you do on this program, collecting those fines becomes a little bit more difficult. A similar number of licenses were revoked for both fiscal years. The cases closed without disciplinary action are exactly that. Our goal is not only punitive, but to try to gain compliance with the laws and rules for the program. If a licensee is able to take corrective action, sometimes a case can be closed for informally resolved. You can see the number of these types of cases went down for fiscal year 2026. The next section details alleged violations at opening. This is what helps turn a complaint into an official enforcement case. As is typical of this program, a lot of the enforcement cases for both fiscal years are contestants that were testing positive for drugs or alcohol. We have a list of prohibited substances in our boxing rules, and we ensure those so the contestants, so the playing field is fair. I've got two case highlights for you. These are both drug test violation cases, but the penalty on each is different because the contestant tested positive for different substances. So just as a courtesy reminder to the board, because I know you guys may not be as familiar with our penalty matrix as I am, but some substances are a Class B penalty, which is lesser. Those would include alcohol or marijuana. Some are Class C penalties. Those include masking agents and diuretics. And some are the heaviest Class D violation, which includes if a contestant is found to be taking stimulants, narcotics, anabolic agents, or peptide hormones, etc. And those are your case highlights, and I'm available to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. If there's no
Sure.
questions, we'll move on to Mr. Greg Alvarez with the Field Inspections Division.
Good morning, everybody. Greg Alvarez, the program manager for the Combative Sports Department. Here's our inspection reports. If you notice here, we got the fiscal year 25, basically runs from September 1st till August 31st of 26. So in 26 this year, we've been trending higher than last year as far as events. If you notice, we got amateur MMA in the September, October, November, in the first quarter. It was 11 to 10 this year. In boxing, it's trended a little bit more, 21-18. In MMA, 8-7. Muay Thai has won, but amateur Muay Thai is the one that has really picked up. They too, and they got some more scheduled on the way. So if you go all the way down through the fourth quarter of the third quarter, which we're in right now, last year was 12 amateur MMA, 27 boxing, 6 MMA, 0 Muay Thai, 1 amateur Muay Thai. So this year, right now, we're setting just off March dates, 8 amateur MMA, 4 boxing, 5 MMA, 0 Muay Thai, 1 amateur Muay Thai. We had some scheduled for April, the numbers ain't put in yet. And May, total events, we had 20 events scheduled for May as well as June, and those ain't on these numbers, they'll be on next quarter. Okay, and then next page. Next page, this is something Chris Russey, our division director, the field director, is going to talk about this, because the way now we're doing is logging a lot of stuff on legal files, and he's going to explain this. Go ahead,
Okay.
Chris.
All right. Good morning, Chairman and board members. My name is Chris Russey. I'm the director of the Field Inspections Division. Before I move on to the project section, Greg, we can go over the personnel updates? We've got some new hires and some transitions that we've had. As most of you know, Assistant Program Manager Jim Erickson, he retired this last summer, so we did replace him. Coming up, you can never replace Jim, obviously, but we did fill that role, and I'll let Greg go ahead and make that announcement and some others that we've done recently.
Yeah, we had Gus Calderon got promoted to the assistant program position, and now he's been doing a wonderful job since July 1st. He's really picked up where Jim was at. He learned a lot from Jim, and then as well as what he's been laying out also as far as the new direction for combative sports. Since then, we've hired 4 new personnel in combative sports. One administrative assistant, Jenna Harris, came over from compliance. She had 20 plus years with architectural barriers. Now we have her here, and she's doing a wonderful job as far as what we need her to do here, because we have so much administrative projects going on. And at the same time, we hired Mark Kaloya in September, and he's come over. He was one of our professional referees, one of the top tier referees. He done the Mike Tyson fight, some Canelo fights. So now he's part of us, and he's helping it out, and he works out of the San Antonio region. So he was really relieved a lot of the shows we've had there. So he's basically being a supervisor. He's doing a good job. He brought a lot of wonderful ideas, because he ran the USA Boxing South Texas branch for many years, 10, 15 years. So what he learned here, what he's bringing over here, and some of the plans we got for coming up for combat sports, such as training, in-house training, it's going to be a wonderful thing. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to discuss that a little bit more. Also, another one we just hired just recently, just started here in April, was Joseph Rodriguez out of the Houston area. That's another position we had open in Houston. Now, Joseph brings a lot of experience also. He was president of the Gulf Association for many years too, so just that combative sports background in the amateurs bringing it over to the professional. It's a lot easier transition than somebody who's never done the administrative side. So we're converted over. He'll be running shows soon by himself, but right now he's getting trained a lot by Gus, our assistant, and also Patrick, who works out of the Houston area. And right now, we've already interviewed for a new position in Dallas. And that position, they start working on 6/15. So as soon as they give us okay, we're going to offer that position to the new person we think. So now we're going to have 2 people in Dallas, Arturo and this new person. Then we got the 2 in Houston, which is going to be Joseph and Patrick. Patrick got some MMA background. Joseph got some boxing background. So we're going to have both of them covered. And then just the staff we got here. Jenna's going to be here, part of the administrative assistance program. And she's basically working on the online licensing where contestants register online to get there. And she gathers all the medicals. She does the research, make sure everything's within date, within parameters of accepting a fighter to be licensed as a combative sports fighter. So we're excited about all these new people. And then this really relieves the stress because we're having to turn down a lot of events, declining events, just because we did not have enough staff going around to cover these events. But now we got enough if we were in an emergency, we could cover up to 7 shows in one weekend. And just recently, we've done a couple of 6 events in one weekend where we're busy all weekend long. But the guys, they love working, and it's hard for me to get them to take time off, including myself. But now with all this additional staff, everybody's, it's going to bring a little bit of ease where, these guys are going to have at least 2 weekends off a month. So, not doing events. So, but that's where on the staff report as far as the new staff members.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. Again, Chris Ressi, Director of the Field Inspections Division. To go ahead and jump to that other part of the staff report, this one I wanted to cover because I'm really proud of the team. Greg has done an excellent job leading the charge on this. So this initiative we've been doing for the past couple of years. It's part of the overall agency-wide paperless initiative to transition paper documents to online systems, but also has some additional benefits with doing that. So as a result of moving all of our event folders over into this online system, it's called Legal Files, not only are we capturing the medical documents and everything else in there, we're also capturing key data points that allow us to run historical reports on certain things that we've received requests for. Just kind of as a sampling of the data, I've provided some statistics for you here. One thing we always hear about, especially when we're considering approving a new sport, is, what are the statistics on injuries? And this is going to give us a way to do it. These injury statistics are based off the ringside physician post-evaluations. It's not going to include anything that's found at a hospital later on or anything like that. But this does give us some key data points that we can use for the different sports. So just for example, fiscal year 2025, which is September 2024 through August 2025, there was a total of 164 lacerations, 14 hand fractures, 9 potential concussions, and 19 injuries that go into other. Obviously, there's a number of different injuries that can occur in these combative sports, and we're constantly updating the database to include those. So in the future, again, this is the initial stage, but we're going to be able to build it out to expand on these reports. As you'll see with this next one, we're able to provide some statistics on total attendance. So for fiscal year 2025, out of all of our boxing events, there was 113,817 attendees at these. This is information that we pull from the tax reports from the promoters. So you'll see there we have it for MMA, Muay Thai, and then also TV taxes as well. We also are capturing the 3% tax rate that we collect from all the events. And you'll see the sum of those. As you'll notice that, with the injuries, for example, we're also capturing it by sport. So in the future, we'll be able to provide you similar statistics relating to boxing. How many lacerations, hand fractures. Same thing with Muay Thai, MMA. This is kind of a force multiplier when it comes to using data-centric decision-making skills here at the agency. And I'm extremely excited about it. So I definitely wanted to take an opportunity to cover that. Do y'all have any questions before we move on to another part? No? One thing I did want to do, Mr. Ramirez, with part of the license report, you had asked about the online licensing. So that is based off of a push that we've been doing. As a promoter, Over the years, we have been doing it where we're collecting the applications and then we're allowing the promoter to pay at the event for these application fees. One thing the agency and program has been doing over the past year or so is making a big push to get all applicants or contestant applicants to apply online prior to the event. That way we don't have to be collecting those licensing fees at the event. The contestant is officially licensed before the event even starts. And that way we can do all the administrative checks and everything else we need to do as a regulatory body to ensure that they're able to get a license, in the state of Texas.
Thank you.
All right. And then next, there is one more thing. This is going to go into our project section. As many of you heard, that there is a proposed federal regulation amendment to the Muhammad Ali Act. It's called the Muhammad Ali Revival Act. This is something that we've been monitoring very closely. They've already had a House hearing on it, and they recently had a Senate hearing on it. So what we wanted to do, because it affects boxing nationwide, we wanted to give Greg an opportunity to go through what we've been tracking with this bill, go over some key highlights on it that we've discovered and how it would change certain things. Unfortunately, this cannot be a discussion item. This is an overview item. However, if y'all feel that further discussion is needed on this, we can certainly apply and create a work group that can discuss this further and or add it to the agenda on the next advisory board meeting. But Greg, if you can go ahead and go over this information.
All right. Once again, this is something that just recently popped up, and it's already passed the House at the U.S. level, at the federal level, and it went before the Senate level just recently. As a matter of fact, we're invited, and then they switched it out, and they invited somebody else to speak on behalf of the state commissions. But here's a little quick overview of the Muhammad Ali Revival Act. The overview is the bill amends the Professional Boxing Safety Act of 1996 as well as the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act of 2000, and is going to create a new entity, which is going to be a UBOs, which is Unified Boxing Organizations. It's supposed to be strengthen fighter safety, medical standards, and pay protections. Introduce a league-style alternative structure within boxing. And the key concepts are creating this UBO is boxers may choose to operate under a UBO system or the traditional model, because there's some promoters who want to go, like a regular promoter, such as Felix. He don't want to be a UBO, so he could still go underneath the old structure, which is also protected by the original Muhammad Ali Act. UBOs are league-style boxing entities. Their model is almost exactly what the UFC and MMA is. Fighters compete under contract within the organizations. UBOs control rankings, matchmakings, and titles internally. Basically, they have the UBO title. So they're going to have their own ranking system, sort of like the UFC. They're going to do their own matchmaking, and this is a UBO. Now, the UBO removes reliance on the traditional sanctioning bodies. So you got sanctioning bodies, which usually go with the regular promoter companies, such as just a regular promoter who is not going to be as a UBO. Now, as we go into fighter safety enhancements, all boxers who are a UBO fighter will receive ECGs within 1 year of the bout. All boxers who are reporter must have ECG and stress tests also evaluated. All boxers would need an exam by a neuro or MRI of the brain within 1 year of the bout. Boxers over 40 years old must have an MRI and an MRI. Mandatory brain health exams after knockouts. And they also require the UBOs, this is the UBOs for the Revival Act, they're required to have 2 ambulances on site. Now, the ones who are not UBOs, they can still just go with 1 ambulance. Usually, when the ambulance comes into play, if it's a TV fight, you usually want to have two ambulances there anyway, so you won't have a lull in the action in case they got to take somebody away. But the UBO, they're always going to have 2. Also, the UBO is required to have 2 certified ringside physicians at ringside at all times. Right now, we only require 1, but the promoters always carry 2 for the reason if they got to go to attend somebody, it won't stop their program from happening. Because as long as there's 1 fight doctor at ringside, the fight can still happen. Okay, another thing is the UBO is going to require to provide insurance for boxers while training for a covered match. So as soon as a fighter gets locked into a fight, he's going to be covered by an insurance program from the beginning of the training camp to the end of the fight. As of now, the regular promoters, they just carry the fight insurance for the fights that happen that night for any injuries that they might sustain during that night. As the UBO is going to be more like a health care coverage, while they got you under contract to fight that fight. Okay, anti-doping requirements. Drug tests required for all title bouts and at random for all other bouts, at least half of the card. So UBO, they're always going to test half. Right now, we already test, if it's just a regular bout card, we're doing random on 3 fights, which is 6 fighters. So as far as Texas meeting that requirement is not going to be that much, just going to add a little bit more, but the structure is right now the contestant is required to pay for his own medical test as to for their drug test. As the UBO promoter takes care of all them tests. And then the UBO is required to do in competition and random testing conducted by independent third parties. Results reported to state commissions and the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions. Fighter pay and contract structures. In the regular promoter business, they can still negotiate whatever they contract on what to fight for. At the UBO, there's going to be a standard minimum of $200 per round, and fighters must compete every 6 months or be paid for not fighting within that 6 months. That's going to be written in their contracts. And the contract maximum length of 6 years. So when you sign with the UBO, they can sign you up to 6 years where you're going to be their fighter for 6 years. So your fighter got to really be smart whether they're going to sign with the UBO or stay just basically a free agent fighting for those ones. But I don't think on UBO will let a free agent fight under UBO unless you're signed with the UBO. So there might be something on there, but we'll wait to see what happens there. Excuse me. Fighters are allowed to communicate with other promoters near contract expiration. So it's going to open up that little window. So you got 6 months left in your contract. Now you can go talk to somebody else. That's, as of now, it's called interfering. So that's going to be laid out on the UBO. Then the commission authority. Matches cannot occur without a state commission. So once again, on matches, this is just boxing. We're talking about boxing. In MMA, because if MMA happens like on an Indian reservation or a military base, the state commission doesn't got to be there. They can run it independently. They can run it Wildcat. But now in boxing, they can't do nothing here. Somebody got to be present. So say in Texas, we have a couple of reservations and say they go to the Eagle Pass one. They don't have to use Texas, but they got to use a member of the ABC, Associated Boxing Commission's member, to be able to regulate that fight. Judges and referees must be commission approved by the ABC or ABC certified. We already do that now. Each ringside physician must obtain a certification through the ABC or the ARP program within 2 years of enactment. That is going to be something new. A lot of our members already attend the ringside physicians course, but now some of these new ones, and now with the new rider that we put in where they're exempt, from being sued, the doctors, hopefully this would really help out that, now they could do this further education in order to be registered as a ringside physician. States may enforce additional regulations if not inconsistent with the federal law. Now, federal oversight and enforcement, UBOs must register with the Federal Trade Commission. Public disclosure of business information required. Violations may result in fines up to $20,000 in possible criminal penalties. Remember, this is just the federal, and that's if you're a UBO. Policy direction, the bill strengthens fighters' protections while introducing a centralized league-style boxing structure. So it's good when you see it. When you see it and you understand it, when a new boxer signs up for it, it's great for the new fighters. But as you get into the more later part of your career, as fight for titles and then that's when negotiation might look a little bit different. But it's great for the beginner fighter, the ones who have already done the work in the amateur program, turning to pro. It's really going to be a positive for them. Bottom line, commissioner authority over all licensing, safety, and event approval remains the same. UBOs gain some control over matchmaking and titles, and then shifts or structured league style boxing operations. So that's just a short thing of the Muhammad Ali Boxing Revival Act of 2006. So once it goes, if the Senate passes it, then we'll have more information at our next meeting, or we'll put it in one of the work study groups. Now, like I said, there's UBOs, there's pros and cons. Texas, as a whole, we're not taking sides whether it's good or it's not. All I know is that if it gets passed, we'll be able to regulate it. We'll have some rules changes to be able to comply with the federal statutes and stuff. But I mean, I don't see no problem with us, taking these new laws that are coming in with the federal, working them into the Texas program and be able to regulate the program. Any questions, or I don't know if you have questions, or just y'all can applaud. I said a lot of stuff, so thank you, Greg.
Mr. Ramirez,
Yes.
Ramirez, I'm sorry, Robert Reyes. We cannot take questions on
Okay.
this specific item, but what you can do, and this goes on for all board members, is if you have a question, let's go ahead and write that question in an email to Angelica or to Mr. Russi. And what we'll do is when we are able to develop the work groups here in the next coming weeks, we can make sure that those questions are answered in the work groups and then disseminated appropriately to all other members in due course.
Mr. Reyes, can we have a motion to add it to our agenda for our next meeting?
Yes, sir,
Discussion?
definitely, and
Okay.
we can reiterate that, sir, under item I. So
Thank
please
you.
reiterate that under item I. Yes, sir.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Alvarez, Mr. Rusty, thank you very much for all that information. That was plenty of good stuff. Thank you. Moving on to an agency update, we'll call on our Deputy Executive Director, Steve Bruno.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Bruno, Deputy Executive Director for Licensing and Regulatory Services. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. I'd like to give you a few updates on some bigger projects that we're working on here at the agency. The first one is a licensing modernization and upgrade project. We're calling our new licensing system TDLR Core, C-O-R-E. It's at the core of what we do at TDLR to issue licenses. As you all know, over the years, we've grown and we will possibly continue to grow as more legislative sessions come. Last session, for example, we were assigned a new program. That's the regulation of solar panel installers. You may have seen articles about concerns about consumers who were not getting what they were promised when they were putting solar panels on their homes. So the TDLR will now regulate those persons who are selling them. Of course, we already regulate the electricians program, so that's a close relation. Then the other big change was the addition of the lottery and bingo programs. Those were assigned to TDLR. So we've been keeping busy with that. And we're about a year into this project. Yesterday, we launched, our first two programs, our weather modification program and our behavior analyst program. As you heard earlier from Chris, we've done a lot of great work to get your program online, sort of before that new core system. It'll eventually be implemented into it, but it is great that we're able to offer you the online option today in your program, and we encourage you to take advantage of it. Please reach out to me directly. My email is steve.bruno, B-R-U-N-O. It's my first and last name. And just like all the other staff, it's at tdlr.texas.gov. If you have any issues using that online system or need any assistance, we're here to help. You can, of course, reach out to Angelica as well, and she will put you in touch with me and my team. We're very excited about that project. The other thing we have going on is we are wrapping up our strategic planning sessions. Every 2 years, every state agency is required to write a strategic plan for the next 5 years, laying out the vision and philosophy, and we've done that by taking input from you, from our licensees. We traveled to 3 cities and had some live sessions, and we also had some we had a virtual session, and we put out questions on our webpage and through social media to help us understand from you all what we need to work on in the future. That will be the culmination of that will be the publication of our strategic plan, which you'll be able to find on our website. And there we'll also publish the comments that we received during our session. So we really appreciate everyone who participates. Strategic planning is a very important time for us and for all agencies to help us know where we need to go in the future. For example, I've been with TDLR since about 2007, and those of you who have been with us for that time or even longer have seen the changes. And what we want to do is keep up with those while still delivering the same level of service and having the amazing combative sports program that I like to say is the envy of many, many other states. We, as you all know, we do a great job here, and we've got an amazing team to help keep Texas where we are in the combative sports world, which we're all very proud of. Those are the highlights I wanted to share. I'm happy to answer any questions or take any comments, and look forward to the rest of the conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruno. Item G is our work group assignments. I'll call on Ms. Lopez Sparks to head that up.
Mr. Chapa, I'll speak for Angelica just on this item because she speaks so eloquently on everything else.
Sure.
But due to the lack of everybody of the full board being on the meeting today, and of course some changes that are going to be occurring here in the relatively short future, we will email the current work group assignments to everyone here in a couple of weeks, and then assignments will be made in response to the members on board at that time after we understand the preferences of the members. So just to be clear, those current work groups are for rules, medical health and safety, drug testing protocols, and enforcement. But right now, what we'll do is Angelica and I will email the current board members, understand their preferences, and then once we have a clearer picture here in the next couple of weeks of our board makeup, we will assign board members to the individual work groups. So no action needs to be taken at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Mr. Reyes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We will move on to item H, recommendations for agenda items for our next advisory board meeting. I know that we had one by Mr. Ramirez, so you want to go
Yes.
ahead and reiterate what you were thinking, and then also if anybody else has any other recommendations, please voice them now.
Another recommendation I have is if we can talk about enforcement of contracts for fighters who don't fulfill their obligation when they sign a contract for bouts. If we can bring that up for the next meeting, that'll be great.
Okay. Anything else? Any other recommendations, board members?
It's not a recommendation. I just have a question. When Greg was talking about the Muhammad Ali Act and that there are courses that he wants the ring physicians to take, can maybe Ms. Lopez or someone from the organization email the doctors these where we can get signed up for these courses, or what courses he's talking about?
I can get with Greg. I'm not sure which courses either, but whatever information I can get, I will definitely email it to the board along with the document that was presented about the Muhammad Ali Act. I can make sure y'all get that as well because it was not in your materials.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Parkus, as Greg covered in his document, and you'll see that's something that'll be enacted within 2 years of the enactment of the bill. And so it's still some time before that.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Steve. Chris, just to clarify on your point, the first thing that would have to happen up in DC is for the bill to pass fully, right?
Correct.
And that hasn't happened yet, so we're monitoring that, and we'll keep you posted.
Yes. In fact, at the Senate hearing, Chairman Cruz mentioned that they were going to provide a Senate substitute for the bill. And so there's going to be some additional changes, and depending on how wide or they vary from the House bill, it may have to go back through another hearing with them. So there's still some time before that all shakes out.
And just real quick, board members, if you think of anything outside this meeting, maybe something pops in your mind after this meeting, just definitely email me and we can get those items added as well.
Okay, wonderful. So now in terms of scheduling a date and time for our next advisory board meeting, I believe Angelica will pull a board at a later time to figure out when we can get most, if not all of our board members on. Is that correct, Ms. Lopez Sparks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wonderful. I believe that's it. I believe we are ready to adjourn this meeting unless there's anything else that I am missing. Please let me know now. If not, we can go ahead and announce that this meeting is adjourned at 10:55.